guys, today it's that time of the year and it's time for me to share with you my favorite books of 2016. So let's get going immediately with this video. There's a lot I gotta share with you guys. And as always, every year what I've done with this video, I have a list of books that are brand new to me, books that were published prior to 2016. So I have that list of best books that I read this year. And then I also have a separate list of books that were literally published this year in 2016. So yeah, two different lists I'm going to get through, so let's get going. So starting with books that were new to me this year, books published prior to 2016. At number 10, I have The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman. And this book follows a husband and wife. It's historical fiction. It takes place after World War II in Australia. And this husband and wife, they guard this lighthouse. They're in charge of running it and making sure things are running smoothly at the lighthouse. But one day, a boat washes up on shore, and in the boat is a dead man and a crying baby. Oh dear. This is such a great book, a very emotional book. Your emotions are definitely put to the limits in this book, but so good. And this whole book, it just poses this big moral question, because the husband and wife, they've been having trouble conceiving a child for years now, and their big moral dilemma here is, well, what should we do with this mysterious baby that has washed up on shore? Should we keep it for ourselves? Is it a gift from God? Or should we try and find the mother of this baby? And that's kind of the question. Does this baby even have a mother? The man in the boat, is it the baby's father, or is it the baby's kidnapper? Who knows? So yeah, this is definitely such a great book. I highly recommend it. At number 9, I have The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, and this is a contemporary mystery thriller, and it follows this woman named Rachel Watson. And Rachel Watson, she takes the commuter train in and out of London every single day. She sits on the same side of the train every day. She rides at the same time of morning and evening. And as she's on this train, there's one particular house that she always passes by. And there's this couple that she's kind of enamored with. And she creates this whole story and backstory for this couple, you know, really fantasizing their lives and wishing she had their lives. But one day, when she's passing by this house that she's so obsessed with, and this couple, she witnesses something strange and out of the ordinary, and she takes this information to the police. And the thing about Rachel, she is one hell of an unreliable witness, because she's definitely an alcoholic. She has issues where she blanks in and out. She loses some of her memory. So yeah, this definitely poses for an excellent psychological mystery thriller, and you're constantly questioning what is real, what is fake, you know. At number 8, I have A Man of His Own by Susan Wilson, and this is historical fiction that takes place in America prior to World War II, but also during the war and then after the war. So yeah, you're spanning quite a bit of time in this book. And this book follows these 3 people and their relationship with this German Shepherd. And this is a beautiful story, you guys. Oh my goodness, I highly recommend this book if you are an animal lover. It's incredibly emotional, but also something incredibly uplifting and joyful about it by the time you reach the ending. At number 7, I have The Beggar King by Oliver Poch, and this is actually the 3rd book in this series, the Hangman's Daughter series. And I finally got around to reading the first 3 books in this series, but I ultimately really loved this 3rd book. This 3rd book, I can't really give too many details about the story, but what you have to know about the overall plot of all of the books take place in a historical fiction setting. I want to say in maybe the the 1500s, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember the era exactly, but I think it's the 1500s. And it follows this hangman and his daughter and the town physician. And in this particular book, the third book, the hangman, he's called by his sister for some mysterious reason, but when he goes to meet his sister is actually dead. She's been murdered. And the hangman, he in turn ends up being the one who is tortured. He is normally the one who does the torturing, but he ends up being blamed for the murder of his sister, which he actually had nothing to do with. So there's a nice little role reversal there, where he is the one who is targeted and tortured. And yeah, that's kind of all I can give you. It's kind of a complicated story, but yeah, I love this third book in the series. It kind of broke the mold of how the other two books in the series were, because the other two books definitely have a format and a style, and this kind of has that same thing, but it kind of breaks it a little bit. At number 6, I have And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. Woo! This is definitely a classic when it comes to mystery books. Ooh, Agatha Christie, oh my goodness. This book follows 10 strangers who meet under mysterious circumstances at this island, and they all share something in common. And one by one, they all start disappearing. So what is going on? What's the big mystery? And I freaking love this book. Easily one of my favorite Agatha Christie books. It is such a tiny thing. It's hard to believe how much Agatha Christie is able to pack into this one mystery. But she does it flawlessly as usual. At number 5, I have The Accidental Empress by Alison Pataki. This is historical fiction taking place in the 1800s, and this follows Empress Elizabeth, or Stacie as she is more commonly known, who marries Emperor Franz Joseph. And this book is as part of a duology, and the first book only showcases the first half of Elizabeth's life when she's a young woman, as she matures into her teenage years, and then yeah, leading up to her marrying Franz Joseph and all the complications that start there. And I really loved this first book because this was about a woman that I really had no idea existed. This was the first time I have been introduced to this remarkable woman. At number 4 is The Serpents and the Pearl by Kate Quinn, and this is also historical fiction taking place in the 1400s in Renaissance Italy during the reign of the Borgias. And this was so good, you guys. It essentially follows 3 main characters. One of the characters is Giulia Farnese, who becomes mistress to the Pope. And it also follows another young woman who is a cook in Giulia Farnese's household. And then it also follows a dwarf who slowly gets the eye and attention of Cesare Borgia to become a sort of bodyguard type figure. And as always with the Borgias, there's always something sketchy and shady going on. And all 3 of these characters slowly weave together, and we also have a surrounding greater mystery going on in the background. At number 3 is Winter by Marissa Meyer, and this is the 4th and final book in the Lunar Chronicles. I finally got around to finishing this series, and Winter is definitely far and away the best book in the series, in my opinion. All of the books are fantastic, let's put it that way, but Winter, wow, it really outdoes itself. The plotline is really intricate. There's so much going on. And overall, I think this was a very, very satisfying conclusion to the series. I was not disappointed whatsoever. And I want to reread the series right now. I love the series so much. And the main premise of this book, if you cannot tell, a woman holding an apple and it's called Winter, this is a retelling of the Snow White story. At number 2, I have Eon and Iona by Alison Goodman. Woo! Oh my god, you guys, I loved this duology. I only have the first book right here, but I'm also including the second one as well. This is perhaps one of the best duologies I have read in a very, very long time. This is a fantasy series, a young adult series. It takes place in a fantasy world, but it has really heavy influences of Asian culture and tradition. and it follows this young girl who has to masquerade as a young boy in order for her to train and become a dragon eye. And the dragons in this world, there's not really literally dragons floating around. The dragons are more spiritual, and they're really elemental, and it's the job of the dragon eyes to control these dragons in order to control the elements. And it has such a fantastic premise. If you love fantasy, I highly recommend this. It's a very complex world. Me just talking about it here, giving you a brief synopsis, it's not doing this series justice, but I loved this book. And at number 1 is Dragonfly in Amber by Diana Gabaldon, book 2 in the Outlander series. And I can't give you too much information about this book since it is the second in the series, but whew, oh my goodness, I loved this second book. I already really enjoyed Outlander, but Dragonfly in Amber totally outdid itself. This might easily be one of my favorite books in the series. I haven't continued with the series yet, but I kind of imagine this will always remain a favorite of mine. But yeah, this book, it follows our hero and heroine, Jamie and Claire, and they're trying to prevent one of the greatest Scottish rebellions that happens, a rebellion that will involve a lot of casualties and death. And yeah, they're just trying to prevent that from happening since Claire is from the future and she knows things. So moving on from that list, let's move into my next list. And these are books that were published literally this year in 2016. And I only have 5 to share. At number 5, I have Lady Midnight, book 1 in the Dark Artifices series by Cassandra Clare, taking part in the greater Shadowhunter universe. And yeah, what to say about this book? You definitely have to have read all of the prior Shadowhunter books. There's no way you can go into this book and enjoy it. Let's put it that way. You have to know all this other prior knowledge from all of the previous other series. But yeah, the overall premise of this book, it follows Emma Carstairs and Julian Blackthorne in the Los Angeles Shadowhunter Institute. And yeah, of course, as always in these books, there's something wild and crazy going on in the Downworlder universe. And I definitely really enjoyed this book. Obviously, it made my top 5. I just really liked how much mature the characters were in this story, and I also just felt like Cassandra Clare herself had a greater maturity in her writing. At number 4, I have The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware, and this is a psychological mystery thriller, if you will. If you definitely like things like Gone Girl and The Girl on the Train, you will definitely enjoy this. This follows a travel journalist named Lo Blacklock, and she receives a special invitation to board this luxury cruise liner that is going out on its maiden voyage. And one night, while she's in her room, she hears something strange in the room next door to hers. And when she looks out her little balcony, she sees that there's a bloody handprint on the railing. And she's also heard what appears to be the sound of someone being thrown overboard. So, what's going on? Did she really hear a noise? What's going on? But when the captain talks to her later, the captain reveals that there was no one in the room next door to her. So what is going on? Is Lo imagining everything? What's up? And yeah, that's about all I can tell you, because this is kind of complex and there's a lot of intricate twists and turns, obviously, as with any good mystery thriller. And this was just so freaking good, you guys. I'm really hoping this gets turned into a movie too, like Gone Girl and Girl on the Train. Next, I have A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, book 2 in the Court of Thorns and Roses series. This second book, you guys, I wasn't quite sure what to expect with this book, but when I went into it, I thought it was going in one direction, and then it totally took another direction that I was not expecting, and I really liked that. And when I did my book review for this book, I was just talking about how much I appreciate Sarah J. Maas's writing, because Sarah J. Maas, she does not sugarcoat anything. This book has a lot of sex and gore and violence, and like I said, nothing sugar-coated, and I love that when it comes to young adult literature. And this is a second book in the series, so obviously I can't really tell you much more than that, but it follows a girl named Feyre who is part of the fairy realm, and as with any good young adult book, you guys, obviously there's a love triangle going on. At number 2, I have America's First Daughter by Stephanie Dray and Laura Kamoe. And this is historical fiction, kind of straddling the late 1700s going into the 1800s, taking place in America, and following the oldest daughter of Thomas Jefferson, one of America's founding fathers. And oh my goodness, this was such a terrific book. I won this on Goodreads. I'm so glad that I won this book because I don't know if I would have picked it up otherwise. And yeah, just such a fascinating story. It's like, I know the basics about Thomas Jefferson, obviously, but there was just so much more I didn't know about him. And yeah, more importantly, I had absolutely no clue about his daughter, Patsy Jefferson, so it was great to experience this journey with her. And the thing about Patsy Jefferson, her having to deal with her father's infamy and fame and the controversy surrounding him, and the fact that she has to hold a lot of his deep dark secrets, while also dealing with a lot of his hypocrisies as well. And at number 1, you guys, I have Stacie, Empress on Her Own by Alison Pataki. And if you recall, earlier in this video, I shared with you the first book in this series, The Accidental Empress. So yeah, the second book makes it into this list as well. And to be quite honest, you guys, I had a really difficult time going back and forth between this book and America's First Daughter because I loved both of those books pretty equally, and I just could not decide between, you know, which position they should be in, you know, number 1 or number 2. But I did ultimately decide to go with this as my favorite book of the year. This is another book that I won on Goodreads. I'm so glad I won it. Like I just said for America's First Daughter, I don't know if this is a book I would have picked up otherwise, so I'm very, very glad I picked it up. And once again, like I was saying with The Accidental Empress, this book follows Empress Elizabeth of Austria-Hungary, and this book is the second half of her life, leading up to her tragic assassination by the end. And this book is just so terrific and well written and full of tragedy throughout the whole damn thing. It is so good. And yeah, I think that's it. I just went through 15 books. Hopefully this whole thing made sense. Hopefully y'all can follow it. But yeah, in the comments below, have you guys read any of these books either this year or in years prior? Or if you haven't read any of them, do you plan on trying to get to them upcoming in 2017? Just let me know. And also in the comments below, share with me what were some of your favorite books of 2016. So that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.